Solovyov is preparing Russia for war with Europe. How propaganda legitimizes NATO threats. Vladimir Solovyov's Sunday broadcast once again became a platform where the war against Ukraine openly morphs into a discussion of war against Europe. While Kremlin hosts had previously cautiously hinted at the possibility of retaliatory steps in the event of continued NATO assistance to Kyiv, today these threats sound inevitable. Propaganda doesn't work for emotional gain. It prepares the ground. A close look at Solovyov's recent speeches reveals how, step by step, Russia is legitimizing the idea of a direct military clash with NATO and portraying Europeans as the main culprits of the coming catastrophe. 1. Europe, Washington's morons and puppets Solovyov's rhetoric is extremely derogatory. Denmark, which is buying long-range missiles, is portrayed as a fool who thinks it can defend Greenland. European governments are idiots who turn a blind eye to violations of the law in favor of locating Ukrainian military factories. Such statements are not only useful for Russian audiences, they convey a picture of Europe as a weak-willed US vassal. This is how the Kremlin lays the groundwork. If Europe is not independent, then negotiations with it are pointless. 2. Threats of strikes on NATO territory. The most alarming part of the broadcast is the direct threats. Solovyov declares that we just need to pound Ukrainian military-industrial facilities, even if they are located in Europe. This is a direct legitimization of military strikes outside Ukraine. In essence, viewers are being prepared to believe that strikes on European factories or facilities are a legitimate target. For domestic audiences, this is presented as just retribution. For foreign audiences, it's presented as psychological pressure. 3. Zelensky equals Hitler. Comparing the Ukrainian president to Hitler in April 1945 is a key propaganda ploy. Solovyov describes Zelensky as a fanatic, confident of victory without any basis. This isn't just an insult, it's a way to justify war. If the enemy is a new Hitler, then any cruelty against them is justified. For Europeans, this is an obvious signal. Russia is deliberately drawing parallels with the Third Reich to justify escalation and militarization. 4. Poland and Ukraine, an alliance on the brink propaganda, is playing on tensions between Kyiv and Warsaw. Solovyov recalls the incident of a Polish missile that accidentally hit a residential building and sarcastically asks, "So who's going to apologize now?" At the same time, he tells stories of Ukrainophobia in Poland, presenting them as proof that the alliance between Kyiv and Warsaw is doomed. The goal is obvious: to sow mistrust and undermine solidarity within NATO and the EU. 5. Normalization of attacks on civilian cities. The recommendation to residents of Kharkiv, Sumy and Kyiv to leave the cities because we cannot guarantee their safety is particularly alarming. This is a cynical justification for future strikes on residential areas. Solovyov absolves Russia of responsibility in advance and places it on civilians. We warned you. For European readers, this is important to understand. Russian propaganda is preparing a justification for mass war crimes. Denmark decided to buy long-range missiles. I wonder how this will help them defend Greenland. So what does Denmark need a long-range missile for? Really, to do what? They don't understand that they can supply any long-range missiles they want. If they host a Ukrainian fuel production plant, we'll still get hit. Not only that, but it will also get hit on its own, because they've already violated 20 existing laws. It's environmentally unsafe. Well, listen, if the Danish people don't feel the need to come to their senses and continue to watch their elected government violate all sorts of laws passed by other elected officials, then what's their claim on us? and NATO is clearly playing a game with us. The game is very simple. We'll pretend we're not fighting Russia, but we don't consider it a war, although there's no other way to call it. But when they directly place everything that is needed for the Ukrainian military-industrial complex, what is this if not direct participation in the war? For us, this is a legitimate goal. 6. Europe as a hypocrite and weakling. The final chord is a comparison. Europe condemns Russia, but turns a blind eye to Israel. This is a favorite formula of Kremlin propaganda, to portray the West as hypocrites in order to demoralize its public opinion. Why should this worry Europe? It may seem like all of this is just a television show, but Russian propaganda is not limited to its domestic audience. It shapes public opinion, which, under autocracy, becomes a direct justification for the Kremlin's decisions. Today, millions of Russians are being told, NATO is already waging war against Russia. Europe is to blame and must be afraid. Strikes on European territory would be a legitimate target. This isn't just rhetoric, it's preparation for a new phase of the conflict. Russian propaganda is systematically pushing the boundaries of what's acceptable. If today there's a threat to strike Ukrainian factories in Europe, tomorrow it could become reality.